I'm just the voices in your goddamn motherfucking head.
Yes, I love voices in my head, and this is just a fun little thing we're doing because broadcasting is fun.
Yes, it is fun.
I am still Elliot, and that was the voice in my head.
Yes, just a random voice in his head.
Who is apparently an immoral wizard.
An immoral wizard, yes, that's what we call chaotic evil, which is the most fun alignment of them all.
Yes,
That's how you can save the world. It doesn't matter how many people get sacrificed then.
yes, sacrifice all so you can save the world. Anyway, we have some articles, and we're just gonna chat and read some articles and see what happens.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you
Yeah.
about this movie I was watching.
Yay, what was the movie you were watching?
It was called Slave to the Grind. It's a history of grindcore, which is a very extreme subgenre of, you know, death metal punk. Death metal meets hardcore punk meets, yeah.
Hmm.
Very good. It needed to include the band Fear of God, which I thought it was. I thought you know, in my opinion, they're one of the big three. But interviews with Repulsion, Napalm Death, newer bands like PLF, which is an amazing band, uh, Pig Destroyer, which sucks, uh, Jeff Putnam, of course, who actually got some pretty cool tributes. I thought it was going to be, he's a very polarizing figure in the grind scene. I thought it was going to be like, haha, Seth died, he's an asshole. Whereas there are actually people in his band and people who knew him were like, yeah, that sucked. Seth died. He was my friend. He was really cool and actually a really nice person. I was sad when Seth died. Um, Great interviews with Brutal Truth. Just a great movie. I recommend buying it. Buy the 2 disc one. It has deleted scenes, which I haven't seen yet, and amazing music.
Uh-huh.
It will definitely be worth watching. So yes, I also watched. Well, I haven't watched Lords of Chaos yet because it's not out on streaming. Once it is, I will review it and tell you how bad it is. I mean, how it is. Can't can't show opinions yet, obviously.
Yeah. We have a Texas Asian Nazi known for campus demonstrations, facing up to 45 years in prison for firearms violations.
Texas Asian Nazi. That reminds me of that reminds me of like when crossover thrash bands used to come to LA and they used to see Latino Nazis and they'd be like, "Wait, why are you seeing Highland? You're Mexican."
Hitler. Hail.
Oh, hail the Mexican Hitler hat.
Yeah, I don't even know how that works. Uh,
If you know how it works, leave a comment.
Hyung Yong Yu, 25, was found guilty Thursday of 7 counts of making false statements in connection with firearms transactions.
Like your friend's mother who bought a shotgun for her insane son.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy. I gotta find that article again. It's so hard to find.
It is a great article, and we haven't read it in years. I think we've read it about 5 times here, but it's still a good article.
Yeah, because what happened was with Crazy Louie. Okay, he uh, he did some things like carjack someone. Okay, and went for a joyride just down the block till he kind of like wrecked the car. And then he like broke into his old house where he used to live, sat down in the middle of the living room, and whenever the woman came home that lived there currently, she was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, wrong house."
Which is a bit strange, but still.
So after this shit, he got put in his holding cell, waiting. And while he was in his holding cell, he set his bed on fire. So they shipped him from prison to the mental facility. So, well, he spent some time in the loony bin. And on the day he got out of the loony bin, as a present for being marked sane again, psst, hey, you know that whenever you get out of a mental institution, you're not instantly sane?
Now,
Oh,
this requires some context for our long-term viewers, or for our new viewers. I'm sorry. So he was a friend of yours, and what happened?
I'll get the context after the story so people understand everything.
Yeah, he,
So, anyways, what ended up happening was when he got out of the loony bin, his mother bought him a shotgun as a gift for getting the green stamp of, being sane enough to enter normal society again. So, the obvious thing happened. He watched a film which reminded him of his dead dad, you know, decided to dress up in fluorescent orange hunting fatigues, head to toe, went out with his shotgun, shot up people from a distance in his trailer park, several injuries, no one was killed, went back inside his house, changed into his normal clothes, ran around to the people he just shot saying, "I'll find the guy who did this to you."
yeah. So clearly insane.
Yes. I mean, and the thing was, he used to talk about doing really crazy shit when we were hanging out with him. And like, yeah, I was a fucking, drug dealer, okay? And like, we talked him out of doing so much shit. He's like, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go fucking take this knife up this guy's nose. No, no, no. You don't want to be murdering anyone because that's prison time. What? Yeah, prison's a place that exists. You don't want to go to prison. Oh, okay. I won't stab that guy then. Can I set him on fire? No, no, no. I love the idea of setting people on fire, but that's prison time. You don't want prison. Oh, okay. So we talked him out of doing all this crazy shit while we're doing all these drugs. And then his mother called up saying, "Well, if I find out my son fucking hangs out at your place again, I'm going to fucking call the cops." Because she found out he was partying with us. Now, keep in mind, we're the positive influence in his life. Apparently, him living with his mom led him to carjacking people, breaking and entering, other crimes, setting his bed on fire while he was in the fucking holding cell awaiting trial. That's what living with his mom did. Hanging out with the fucking druggies actually kept him out of prison as we tried to instill in him, you got to keep low, man. I mean, it's cool you have these ideas, but you can't act on them. Acting on them is where the problem comes.
Sometimes it's better to talk to people who actually share some of your beliefs and are insane in a way.
I mean, I'm a fucking nut job. I was in a loony bin myself, and I had to learn from other people telling me it's really cool you have these ideas, Jim. Just don't act on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. You just got done watching the first half of Clockwork Orange, and you think running around on a fucking violent, murderous rampage is going to be awesome, but sit here and watch the rest of the film. Yeah, that's right, Jim. Prison exists. Yeah, see what happened to poor Alec there? That's why you don't do that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had friends who, calmed me down and things like but we also talked about it, whereas if I didn't have friends to talk about the dark stuff I think about, I don't know what I would have done. Probably fucked it all up because I'm like stupid, but still, I would have tried to think about it.
There's no guarantee that the drug dealers are going to be a good influence on your kid's life. There's also no guarantee the drug dealer is going to be a bad influence either. Sometimes they're the best the kid's going to have because no one else wants to talk to a whack job. I know. I had a baseball bat taken to my face for saying I was in a mental institution. That's
So
polite society. You want to know what? The person who fucking took a baseball bat to my face in high school is now the head of like one of the local anti-bullying campaigns. So like you want to talk about hypocrisy. Never bringing up his own past.
no, just other things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
But quick to point out when anyone's bullying, even though it didn't even look like bullying to me, it looked like typical shit talk.
I know people who do that who do bring up their own past and went, "Yeah, wow, I was a complete and utter knob."
Yeah.
I've had people, reach out to me and been like, "Yeah, I was really close-minded and things like that, and I thought you were a
I
freak."
mean, fuck. Most of the people that bullied me in high school have apologized to me at one point or another. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You were a fucking kid. What else would I expect?
Yeah,
And they just look at me like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, dude, it's like no sweat off my balls. I mean, at the time, yeah, I was furious on all this other shit. But after some time passed, I look back, it's like, God, we were all idiots as kids.
yep,
And we thought we knew everything on top of it all. That's hard, man.
yep. When you're a kid, you think you know everything, and about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I suddenly started realizing how little I know, and I still realize it.
Oh, God. You know what the worst thing for me was?
But
The worst thing was whenever I was in a mental institution, they gave me my IQ test 172. Do you realize how many years I spent saying to myself, I'm smarter than my teachers? Stupid, 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 stupid. Oh.
your IQ is actually that they just added a two.
What?
Your IQ is it's actually right that they just added a two. It should have been 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was 17.2. Got you.
17.2. They missed a decimal. Yeah,
But seriously, that's like, especially whenever you're already know you're going to be an outcast because you're put in a loony bin. The
yeah.
last thing you need is that little bit of an ego boost to make you think yourself the supreme being, that you can actually know the concept of everything, the time, universe, everything.
At least you knew you were an outcast. I know a guy who scored like genius level in his IQ test when he was like in like first grade or something. And despite the fact that he wasn't, I mean, he was a pretty smart kid, but he wasn't a genius. That IQ test was a complete fluke. The school tried desperately to hold on to, oh, he's a genius, and always gave him, when he was in high school, he always AP everything and things like that, and he, couldn't cope because he was a
Oh,
smart guy. He just
what was fucked up was after, I mean, when I was in the mental institution, the thing that they had to do was put me in with the kindergarten class because the kindergarten class for both the loony bins I was in was the smallest. It only had like 4 or 5 other kids in it. And they gave me the fucking high school level fucking material. Okay. So that's what I was fucking, you know, that way. And the reasoning was they thought that I would need more specialized one on one time with the teacher. So smaller classroom meant that if I had any questions, which I did, obviously, because I'm being fed classwork that was well beyond what I was taking from sixth grade.
Mhm.
That's, you know, 11, 12 years old for the foreigners out there. I was taking just normal sixth grade classes, and now I'm taking like 11th grade classes. I mean, I was actually pushed to my goddamn fucking limit at the time. Whenever I got out of the loony bin and into the partial program, I was taking college prep work. Then I get back to normal high school. I get learning disabled English.
Wow.
But here's the kicker. Once I took the tests, once I got in there, because I got to see, how specialized my course has to be, I blew shit so completely out of the water. She said, okay, well, you're now taking the college prep work. And on top of that, you also have to help me tutor the other students now, which that was a godsend. But everywhere else, the fucking principal thought I was a retard. The guidance counselor thought I was fucking dumb as shit. But all the teachers are like fucking the American political behavior teacher I had in 12th grade. He was infamous for not letting anyone sleep in his class and being a complete hard ass with anyone. Because he was trying to drill into people, This is what the real world's going to be like. This is what a real job is going to be like. This is what college is going to be like.
Which
And
God
you only got
shit
me for
needed.
half a year, so I'm going to make you know this is what's waiting for you out there. So that's how he ran his class. It was fucking hardcore. And no one was allowed to sleep in his class. Now, because I was tutoring this fellow's students in LD English, I'd already taken his class twice before, essentially. Before I even got official credit for it, because I helped the kids out and I paid attention to what was going on. And on top of that, since I was an anarchist at the time, egoist school, mind you, I wanted this, murder legalized.
Yeah.
I also read up on the government and how it works on my own, because know thy enemy, So whenever I got to his class, he was teaching stuff I had already known.
Yep.
And I'd passed the living fuck out, first day of class. He slams his hand down, asks me a question that's not supposed to come till like the end of the course.
Yeah.
And I gave him an answer. And I forget what it was. So I was half out. I was like, and then, you have the 2/3 and blah, blah. I forget what I said. But he had to look up my answer. And after he looked up my answer, he let me sleep in class. And he knew that whenever he was covering something that, like, I didn't know, somehow my ears triggered. I woke up, started taking notes, and passed right back out when he got back to shit I knew.
See, I just went completely the other way. Like, I was always, oh, you're smart, but you never apply yourself. It's like, because I was busy applying myself on other things, because I realized that I don't know, I think I realized in high school I was sort of an autodidact, that I enjoyed learning from myself and from other things rather than just what the school textbooks said. But yeah, I probably should have applied myself more, but whatever. I don't really regret anything, because history was like my one strong suit, where I would like the teacher would be talking about something and be like, by the way, did you know that this happened and this happened and this happened? And here's what they didn't tell you in the book, that this happened and that happened. And my favorite history class was, we had a student teacher. I don't remember the names or anything, but she had what one of those people who goes and watches student teachers to see their progress. I guess a student teacher. Anyway, and we were learning about the Holocaust. And I don't well, okay, I didn't really realize, and I still don't care, that I was saying something a bit out there and dark, because my job, I was like, well, this isn't covered in the books. I just finished reading Slaughterhouse-Five, where he talks about uh about
Mm-hmm.
soap,
Yeah.
soap being made from the fat of dead Jews. And I looked it up and it was real. So when they were talking about the Holocaust, I raised my hand and it was like, well, yeah, did you know they used the fat of like dead Jews and gypsies and people like that to make candles and soap? And the teacher's like, oh, that, like, she didn't know what to say, but it was all true. I was like, and I didn't, I guess I knew it was dark, but I didn't care. It was my job was to promote that knowledge that wasn't in the book. And so she freaked out because, her advisor was there. But I was just like, fuck it, it happened.
Whenever I was in 11th grade, that's 16, 17 years old, uh, and the you see what happened was, whenever I got back into normal school, I went to Votech, which is where I was supposed to get my math course as well, because I took building maintenance trades because I knew I had all this book smarts in me, but damn it if I could think of a single real life application
Yeah.
aside from bomb making.
Yes.
I knew how to make bombs, but I was like, that's not going to land me a real life job. Aside from the military, which I know I just came from a loony bin and I'm not going to get in the military.
Yeah.
So I took building maintenance trades so I could learn how to hammer a nail in and, do plumbing and paint and, general house maintenance. And I was a whiz with fucking electrical wiring. God, I was really good with that. Small engine repair, I could not do that well.
Oh.
Welding, I just didn't have the hands for the stability of it. I could do it, but making, a good perfect, well. I can make it sturdy, but it was always slanted with me because I couldn't hold it, steady
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. I know enough about welding to know that because I love things like that. I love engine repair and welding and metal and stuff like that. So I have studied it.
But now, when you keep in mind, I was taking like algebra 2 and was just short of taking the trig part of it whenever I left the partial program. So whenever I got back to normal school, I went to Votech. They gave you the original math test, and I blew the first couple out of the water because they were expecting everyone at Tech has to be a retard. I got to the pre-algebra class, and I did the same thing. I just filled out the answers on the test, handed it back to the teacher. She was like, "Well, you didn't do any of the work, so you need to be here." And me, like a dumbass, instead of contesting it, I decided to just agree because maybe I didn't know everything. And then I fell asleep throughout her class, aced every test, 120, 130%,
That was
because
the thing I
bonus
hated
questions,
was
because she was offering bonus questions
yeah,
to try to get kids to pass.
yeah.
Because, all anyone went to Votech was a fucking retard because it's all shop classes. That's how I got like 130. It's like, no, there was no mercy. And I think she realized her mistake. And the next year I got into Algebra 1, and the teacher noticed me sleeping through his class, acing every test. He's like, fine, I'm going to give him something to shoot for. I want you to be on the math team.
That was the thing I always hated was showing your work. Like math is something that I can get it if it's in my head, but I don't know for some reason if I can't show my work. Like I can't really tell you how I got to this conclusion, but I can tell you that the conclusion is the correct answer. So that was always what bit me. I just remember English and
I
history.
mean, okay. Well, the whole thing was I went on math team, and that was actually, I, and they gave like a couple calculus problems, some very advanced algebra, and like it was shit that was not covered in any of the classes I had taken yet.
Yeah.
Period. I got all the right answers, but I took so long getting them because I had to really work my brain. Is this how this logically computes as the equation? Does this flow properly? So I did it slower than anyone, but I got the right answers just because it was out of my league, but I barely understood enough to keep it going. You know,
I'll tell you why I was a moron. I was a moron because I thought that once I understood it, I didn't have to prove. I thought that the only, the only purpose of school was to get you to understand things. So my whole thing was, well, I understand it. Why should I have to do any of the homework to show that I can understand it? I get it. I get the concept. So it took me a while to realize that that wasn't. But it's I could have applied myself in English and history. Science, I was okay at, although I think I understand a little bit more now. Math, it was weird, but English and history, when I applied myself, the teachers were someone I hate to use the word unironically here because I hate that word, but
hmm
literally, not even jokingly, said I should be some sort of philosopher. That
yeah.
did great things for my ego, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Because I would ask questions. I would ask questions like, well, did that is I would understand things about say 1984 or Animal Farm or Slaughterhouse Five that kids just would not. They would do the bare minimum of the work in order to pass, and they would whenever somebody would ask, but I'd be like, well, this could be a metaphor for that, and I didn't realize that this is I was getting like the metaphors and shit. Edgar Allan Poe, I didn't really care for until I read Lovecraft. When I realized that, okay, I understood more of the. But back then, Shakespeare, I still don't give a fuck about, to be honest.
It depends upon what you read, Bomb. I mean, if you want a love story, read Antony and Cleopatra
Yeah,
or Othello.
yeah.
I mean, my favorite is Macbeth.
Mhm. I well, because we had to read Romeo and Juliet, and that was about.
Romeo and Juliet. No, that is fucking. Oh my god. No, 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 no.
More
That
into it.
it. I mean, it does capture the essence of puppy love,
Yeah.
you know, and just kids being stupid kids,
What got me
you
more
know.
into it
But
was
to sit there and say this is like the greatest no, it's not a great love story. It's puppy love. It's like you just bump into someone. I love you too, like kids do,
yeah.
and they think they're all in love. Then they realize, oh shit, this person is 100%. Oh God, no.
What
After a
what
couple years, but they didn't have that couple years to find out that because everything was rushed on them, they had to commit suicide.
what was it? What got me a little bit more interested in Shakespeare is actually, and this is leading into metal. Jack Panzer did an album called "Theme to the Throne" about Macbeth. Now, Eric Keller hated the album, but whatever. He's the guy from Fear of God. I actually quite liked it, and thought it was interesting, and that got me reading into more sort of like I didn't really care for Greek mythology in English class because I was forced to read it. Once I started getting into more like metal and thing, and they would talk about it, I'd be like, I remember that. That's from this. So I would get more into reading it
I
because
mean, the thing with Macbeth, it's the power of temptation,
yes,
and the witches are pretty much just the voice of temptation.
yes. But in school, when you have to read something, it's more like meh. But when for some reason, whenever I read something, I throw myself into it. Like we had to read To Kill a Mockingbird in 10th grade. Not really my type of story or whatever, but I threw myself into it and I read the entire story and I understood the entire story. So when it came down to the final, it was like 100 questions. I know there were two I don't think I understood properly because I was running on like no sleep for the past 3 days because I'm an idiot. But I know I got 98% of the questions right. Like I never even heard my grade, but I know for a fact that I got 98% right because so yeah. Whenever I read a story, I try to I throw myself into it and try to understand it. Greek mythology was a little bit different because I had no subtext or context or anything, so it was like.
Mhm.
And then they did. And then there was a three-headed dog, and then the guy sailed on a ship. I was like, okay, once I understood the context, it was a little bit more interesting. So,
I mean,
but
back to my math club competition. Okay,
mhm,
the last question that was given at the competition was a group question. And the one kid who was the smartest out of the normal class that was actually in the advanced maths, you know, being properly schooled how to do it, did the question one way.
mhm,
And I did the question in reverse. So,
yeah.
because I wasn't properly schooled in it yet, but I understood the logic, and it just fluked out that I did it in reverse. So we ended up, so it's like, okay, I got this answer, I got this answer. We both look and we realized we checked each other's work. So there's
Wow.
no need to check our work. So we got the group question right. And those bastards didn't give you any bonus points for getting it done first for the group question, unlike all the other questions where it was like, and we got it done within like seconds almost,
Wow.
while everyone else is taking a couple minutes because they had to actually then go back and I think that's what happened. Everyone probably did it the same way that our smartest kid did,
But you,
but then they had to think about how to check the work.
yeah.
Meanwhile, I did it the opposite way, and I automatically checked it.
It's just, I mean, school is definitely where I discovered that I really do enjoy reading. Well, I've always loved stories. I've always had a huge thing for stories, for interesting plots and a you know engaging story. I've just ever since I was a kid. So that was and then being able to actually think about it was something. But I always had good English and history teachers, not so much math teachers and science. Science never. I don't know. It didn't appeal to me until I left school, and then I was like, this is more interesting than reading about random shit. Reading about how the Earth works is interesting, and of course, I love anything sciencey to do with destruction. you know. That's sort of how it
You
started.
want to know what my birthday present was from Votech on my senior year?
Mm,
I got Student of the Month, February 1994, CWCTC.
wow, I got student of the month once, and I thought it was a
But the
fucking
funny part was, I never actually completed the course because I did all of the extra work except for draw up a set of blueprints because I sucked at drawing.
Mhm.
But that's all that's missing is that I had to draw up a set of blueprints, and I would have like, one. I mean, I got credit for the course, but like to actually get the diploma from the
Yeah,
course, I did not get just because I didn't draw one set of fucking
I
blueprints.
I got a student of the month once, and I'm still convinced it was a fluke because I was a horrible student that didn't get along with others, and yet I got like student. And I was like, okay, what world are we living in here? But no, it's I also discovered around that time that I love documentaries. They used to show documentaries in history class. Because teachers were hungover, maybe I don't know, and I always loved those things. Watching a documentary about the Battle of Britain, and I was like, by the way, what movie is that? I want to, I want, I would have. So I actually found the thing and watched it, in full. So it's just interesting stuff. I don't really regret anything because I had fun and I discovered a lot of great records and discovered that I am slightly more intelligent than a sea monkey.
Uh,
Well, maybe sea monkeys are smart. I don't know. Have you ever asked one?
they're brine shrimp.
Mm, shrimp. No, so but everyone thought I was retarded because I was blind, basically, because there's a whole stigma attached to that, and so you know I had to attempt to prove myself that I was to prove myself to others that I was actually intelligent. So I had to you know um,
Hmm.
speak relatively eloquently, and that
Oh God. I mean, I think that, uh, like I said, me believing myself to be smarter than my teachers was like the biggest fucking idiocy ever. Especially, you got an IQ. You scored a 172 on your IQ. It's like, I'm smarter than my teachers. Yay. Moron.
now I know I was smarter than some of my teachers, but that says more about my
I,
teachers than it does to me.
I was smarter than my principal. And even my guy, I knew things about mental health that blew my guidance counselor out of the water. And he went to school for that shit, you know.
Oh
That's
yeah,
because I was part of the system, and I occasionally stole books from my shrink.
it sort of depended on the class. Like sometimes, like history, I thought that I was smarter than some of my teachers. Because some of my teachers, I would say blatant like pretty well known facts that maybe were in the history book. Really, I didn't know that. It's like, really, you're the fucking teacher. But other, I remember saying something like, "Well, you're partially right." Blah blah blah. Blah. I was like, huh, wow, that just that just blew my mind, man.
Yeah.
Um, Health was fun because rather than we did like 2 minutes about the condom and then 2 weeks about sexual abstinency, and so I made it my personal mission to tear that curriculum to shreds, and so I researched for fucking hours about the cons of sexual abstinency and about how abstaining from sex is you know a about the gray areas and b about just it not working, and I took my teacher to trial every single day, and the idiot always called on me, which I always thought was funny. He was like, "Okay, I rip you apart, but I don't know. Maybe he appreciated that I was actually a voice of reason because you're being paid to teach this curriculum whether you like it or not."
Yeah.
And so perhaps he just thought, "Oh, this guy actually understands a little bit about." Okay, I'll let him. And like I said, when I say hours, I mean we're talking up till 3 a.m. researching this shit. in order to, you know, uh, destroy it because I'm committed. It's also funny because I remember doing no work. Like we had to write an essay on was on something that was strong in our opinion, and we were giving a list of topics. This was summer school English, and I picked the legalization of marijuana because why not? Um, and they said they had to have a quote from a doctor. Now I didn't actually know any doctors, so I just quoted some of my friends. Dr. Justin Harab said, and Dr. Eric Keller said. And anyway, so I shat that out in 10 minutes riding the bus to school and got an A on it. And but that was after missing. I think the rule was you miss 3 days and you'll be I think it was like miss 3 days and you'll be expelled from summer school. I
What
think
was you know what was great? I remember
I
whenever I had to write a book report, and guess what I wrote the book report on back when I was in the partial program.
Mein Kampf.
No, I wrote it on the strategy guide to Super Mario Brothers 3.
That is a book.
Yes. I wrote a book report on the strategy guide to Super, and it was the proper length, 5 pages. And I went into all the good details about the plot and game mechanics and everything. And there was a plot twist in it, which was good because it made it have suspense, and I was able to, write that down. And I gave it as an oral report, and people could beat every single individual level after that, and it only took me 5 minutes to say it all.
I just remember, so this is if you miss 3 days, you well, at least that was the rumor. I don't even know if that rumor was true. I know I went to a race, so I missed Friday and Monday. I remember hearing from reputable sources that the visually impaired teacher was freaking out. Well, I guess he doesn't want an A because I was missing most of summer school.
I think a
'Cause-
good part of my A on that book report was the fact that I had to argue with the teacher to
yeah.
let me use that as my book report. So I wrote down the reasoning why, and that took a few pages. And that's why I was like, okay, do it.
And, but so yeah, I missed most of summer school. Most of the time, I would come to school, and it was 2 hours of English, and then 2 hours of usually a second class. But we just went to the visually impaired room to chill out. That's the room with all the blind equipment that people you get your shit brailled for you and things like that. And
Cool.
you're supposed to do your homework, but I just listened to a bunch of like Funeral Doom and like Space Ambient and read Metal Archives reviews because I had already done everything. But the funny and the best part is I had stayed up the night before. It ended at like 12:30 because it's summer school. But and I stayed up the entire night before, so I was like, at the end of it, just fucking
You know,
zombified.
another fun part about being in the partial program was the fact that I am a Special Olympic medalist.
That is one of the. I did actually try to look for you on the registry, but I couldn't find you on the list.
Oh, this is back in like late 80, like 89 through 92.
See, it's a Special Olympic medal. Eric, actually, I told him because Eric wasn't there when you said your story, and I actually told him the story. He's like, "No, he isn't. Get the fuck out." I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Okay, swimming was my thing. That's where I got most of my golds in. But dear God, it was hard fought because not only am I competing against other nut jobs occasionally, but even when the field is filled with nothing but like Down syndrome and whatever, those fuckers know what the hell they're doing whenever it comes to that specific event.
Well, yeah, yeah.
It is brutal competition because they might go and look like they're walking from the Ministry of Silly Walks. But like, dear God, the moment they hit that water, they throw that fucking shot put or whatever. It's like done.
Yeah,
You are in
exactly.
competition. And
But
I remember one track and field event where I was in the softball throw because I wanted an easy medal. Obviously, I wasn't getting it this time.
Yeah.
But
But
there was
I
this
just
clown in the field standing, at the far end, making gestures, and all this shit. And like it was pissing me off that he was there. So I just picked up the ball and hurled it right at his head and barely missed him. And he took like 5 steps off the field then, not directly in our path. And I was like, thanks. I didn't want to because I'm not an asshole. And the guy picked up the thing and blew my best throw out of the water by 20 yards.
but, so
So
the
like, fuck. like,
funny.
like the clown was the only thing holding him back because he didn't want to be an asshole.
It was just funny though because like I said, I guess he doesn't want an A because he's missing so many days, and I barely applied myself and got an A, and I was pretty happy with that. But it's always funny, and I remember we were forced to watch a. So okay, this takes a little bit of explanation, lest you think I'm weird. I did not want to make friends in high school. Okay, like in ninth grade, I was like, because I was like getting more into G.G. Allen, even though I was like a poser and didn't really understand it. But I thought I'm just gonna get through high school, get through the day, then go home, listen to music, watch racing, whatever. Anyway, they were really concerned because I wasn't making friends. Keep in mind that in your day, Jim, I would have probably just been called a loner and left alone, which
Yeah.
is sort of what I wanted anyway. In my day, they introduced me to a class called social skills. It didn't help that I was diagnosed as high functioning autistic. I've been diagnosed as everything. I was diagnosed with ADD when I was like 6 years old by a guy
Awesome.
who used to fall asleep in class in this during the sessions. By the way,
I've
so
always just had bipolar, according to the shrinks. And though you guys keep telling me I probably have some form of
you
ADD here.
have a certain form of ADD, just as I have some form of OCD, which I have
Yeah.
because I am a completist.
I
I
say
commit.
something. And not just that, but I fucking say something and you're so quick to correct me for one minor error. And it's not just like, oh, you meant the word TWO instead of TOO. It's like you go through a 16 paragraph long dissertation on, correcting me, and it only required one sentence.
Well, yeah. Well, piss
Granted,
off.
I got to go through all his spelling errors because Blindy tends to spell phonetically because, as long as it reads right on the screen, that's all that matters.
I sometimes do that, and sometimes spell very fast, and other times just I don't know, whatever. Okay, well the thing is, and not that I'm making excuses here, but you have to understand that in Braille world, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a shitload of contractions. You
Yeah,
know, so a
because
lot
you
of the
have to
time,
convey information so fucking quickly because
well,
you have like half a second to scan the sign to see if this is the room you need to be in to take a shit.
so
And then
there's
you
the
realize that you're now sitting on top of like some woman who lifted her skirt and are now
well,
shitting on her
not just that,
twat.
but Braille is a lot bigger than print.
Yeah.
Braille is a lot bigger than print, so contractions really do save room. The problem, of course, is especially if there are contractions for whole words, you don't really learn to spell those words. You learn the contractions of those words, but you don't learn to spell.
Mm.
So that fucked me over for years. I really do wish I had had keyboard lessons as a kid and learned, but whatever. I'm I tried, damn it.
Yep.
And as long as people can understand me, it's
That's the main thing. Yeah. I
as
give
long as
you a lot of. I mean, there's times I'll shit on anyone for misspelling shit. Then I see, oh, wait, that's Elliot. I'm not going to do that because it's just going to be redundant. I already
hey,
told them 800 times. I don't need to tell them a billion more.
it sounds right on my screen reader. Piss off.
And especially me saying it's this, not this. It's going to sound the exact same to him on his screen reader.
Well, I can always
He,
spell it out, but
yeah, you could, but, when
I
are you
have
going to
I have
bother to? Because you're
I have
just going to sit there and say, it's there and there. Fuck you, Jim. It's just easier to say "fuck you, Jim" than it is to have it sit there and spell it out for you.
But at the same time, I criticize him for something like I'll be like, no, it was actually that album came out in 1988, not 1989. Dumbass.
I was like, I'm certain if like you were a kid with me back whenever I used to brag about the incident where I puked on myself with while hanging out with Cannibal Corpse, because I literally did say, fucking George was like, dude, are you okay? I was just like, there's nothing wrong with vomiting the soul. And the way I used to brag about it to my friends back then, because not everyone was in the know about death metal, and I wanted to sound ultra cool. I inspired Vomit the Soul.
Whereas I would
Yeah, which was released several years by the previous
different
singer,
thing.
mind you.
Chris Barnes on vocals.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh god. I'm horrible when it comes to things like that. And it's not just me. It's not just you. I'm horrible. Like I'll remember something and be like, wait, was that in 2004 or 2005? Well, I know this happened, so let me look. Okay, that was 2005. I don't know. I'm OCD. Whatever. Um, but I was diagnosed with high functioning autism by people who didn't understand the way my mind was. Okay, the thing about me is yes, I have an outsider's perspective. The difference between me and someone with, say, autism is they don't understand the way the world works. They don't understand that maybe what they're saying is wrong or that what they're saying is different. I understand how the world works. I understand that what I say is completely averse to how the world runs. But here's the thing I hate the way the world works. I despise the way it works. And because of that, I do, I do what I do. That's I
You
don't
see
think
this?
that
I also think we should point this out. This is the difference between an actual episode and us goofing around. This started off with the story of a man known as the Asian Nazi who got firearms violations. And I didn't even finish like the second paragraph, and we went on
it's
for what, half an hour about something, and we would have been done by the article almost
well,
by
yeah, exactly. But it's nice to have these episodes where we sort of delve into
I
our
know, I'm just
yeah
doing a general
that's
reflection.
yeah we try to keep our
For the one
tangents.
new viewer we accumulated. Ooh.
Yes, and hello to our number one fan. You know who you are. Um, or at least I hope you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then that's not my problem.
Everyone else is number two.
Yes, everyone else. No, yes, everyone else is a big shit.
Exactly.
But the thing is we do try to keep our tangents semi in check. Although we will go off the rails a little bit, but me or Jim at least try to. Okay, let's get through this thing.
He had weapons and a history of mental health problems. These situations often end badly, and it was good that law enforcement worked together to get him off the streets as soon as they did. No, because I love playing with firearms. I can't own any, so I have to go out with a friend. But, but I love firing them. It's so much fun watching bottles rip. And at least I'm not as insane as my one friend who can still legally buy firearms.
Well,
Was what he did was he had gotten his hands on a AK-47,
hmm.
and it was nice. But then he decided to shave one of the springs down just a little bit, and it was part of the fucking firing mechanism. And it essentially switched it from semi-auto to full auto, just a couple centimeters. That was all. 1 centimeter, maybe even less. I don't know exactly. We shaved one spring down, and he pulled out a drum clip, which was filled with like 50 or to 100 rounds. I forget exactly how many. It might have been just 50. But like, I remember he pulled it out and was like, I'm going to test this fucker. Blah, 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 blah. and like he tried to get it to stop, and it wouldn't. It just kept going, and like all he could do was try to aim it away from us, and he took down. It was literally like you saw the bullets acting like a chainsaw taking down a small tree. I mean, the fucker was thick. It was just like, dear God, and like all I can remember is me and Jeff were standing behind him and ducking behind one of the large logs behind him, waiting for it to blow up in his face, saying,
Yes.
"Dear God, I don't want to clean up the corpse. I'm sorry, dude." And he knew that he consigned himself to that fate. He accepted it, the possibility.
Yes.
He even admitted to us after it was done. He's like, I was half expecting to die, and I didn't expect you guys to stick around after that.
I just wonder what the people. Huh? Someone's been hunting or shooting. What the hell they've done to this tree?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Well, there was a joke going around saying that, like, in a couple hundred years, they're going to do like a dig on a couple of hills we used to shoot on, and because we shot on both hills on a couple of places, they would call it the battle for the hill.
because there's
Just
just a
checking
bunch of
trajectories, because like it would look like there was a bunch of bullets just firing back and forth at each other. The
nice,
battle for the hills by the mall.
and then
Of course,
some
now that the mall's gone.
some mythos will be created about what an epic battle that was,
Yeah,
and they will create reasons for the battle.
yeah. Someone had a beer keg, and someone else had a bigger beer keg, and that's when they started taking pot shots at each other because they didn't want them to have the bigger beer keg.
That's my kind of That's my kind of legend.
Yes,
So yeah, it's
because that's another funny thing too. We shot up an empty beer keg on each hill that was opposite each other, facing opposite directions.
I just yeah. Uh, I still one of my favorite ones was still when the guy was saying that you just shot for fun or you weren't a very good shot because you couldn't hit all those cans.
Well, yeah, but that's because, okay, the whole thing is this. Whenever I went out shooting, I went to have fun, which meant I'd keep it safe, aimed away from anyone, be aware of my surroundings, but at the same time, I just goof around, go blap blap, aiming wherever, okay? As long as it was in the general direction of where I should be hitting, it didn't matter. And it was just the feel of the firearm going. And I
Yeah,
was trying to get in the Marines at the time because I figured maybe enough time had passed for my mental health records.
which that
Uh,
didn't end well, but
I'll go into that after this.
yay!
But my buddy was like, "Dude, you're not gonna get any sharpshooter badge. You can't hit fucking more shit." I was like, "Oh, really?" Blap 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 blap. And we had these bottles lined up, okay, and like all six of them. It was six shots, and all six of them, I took off just the tip of the damn bottle. Like within 5 6 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, this would have been enough to, kill, if I was an actual sharpshooter trying to pop heads, I would have, gotten an entire funeral procession.
Yes, that's a lot. And he
Yeah.
just went.
And it was like, Jim, just never do that again. That scares me that you could actually be that good. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm handicapping myself on purpose because I'd rather have fun than do it professionally right now. Now, as
Yes.
to how I bombed out of the Marines, because this is like after I had kids and everything. How I bombed out of there was I went up to the MEP station, and while I was there, my back cracked. And it was only a couple years after I took my last dose of acid at the time. But dear God, did it give me the flashback from hell. And this happened shortly, and I was in full flashback mode. It felt like I was tripping hardcore. And just before my psych examination,
Oops. That's not good.
the recruiter pulled me to the side after everything else is done. He's like, "We can trust you not to kill yourself. We can trust you not to kill your fellow man. But when the order to ceasefire comes, we don't think you will. So I wasn't permitted in because they feared I would cause an international incident.
This guy just keeps shooting. We keep telling him to stop.
He's running off of the hill going, more ammo, picking up ammo off all the corpses he's killing and just shooting more. Let him go, son. He's winning the war. He's winning the war.
What war? The war's over and he's still doing it. He's winning other wars. Yes. Welcome to his mind.
Yeah, I think they just kind of figured I would enjoy killing people too much, and that's why they didn't let me in. Which is probably a good call on their part, because I've never crossed that line, and I don't want to. Looking back, that might have been a line I never wanted to cross, actually being comfortable with that.
Yes.
Because then I might get into real trouble instead of having something hold me back.
But you survived, and now you're here on the show, which means your life has gone complete hell.
Oh, yes.
What did I do to this quick? Is what he's probably thinking.
Could face up to 5 years in prison for each false statement. I remember now. Jeff had so badly wanted me to go gun shopping with him at one of the damn conventions around back in the day. And he told me, dude, they won't even fucking check your background. All you gotta do is fill out this, 100 question long questionnaire first time you go. And every question is no, with the last answer being yes.
Okay.
And that's how you get your gun.
Yeah. So
now, you can't get a handgun because they do a background check for that. But you can at least, and, a couple of guys actually get snooty about the actual, firearms. But what you do is you go up to one table, you get yourself a replica. Then you go up to another table and get the parts to make that replica an actual firing model. Then you go up to a third table where you get your attachments for the extra width and can actually get the thing modified so it's 3-round burst.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling me all this information. I never went with him to test this out because I was like, yeah, but that could so backfire on me.
Yeah.
And all it takes is one cop coming in and saying, "Oh my god."
Basically, you're making a poor man's M16.
Uh-huh.
That is very nice.
That's Jeff for you. He was always looking out for me.
Yes, and the stories are legendary. And you guys wonder why I want him to write a book. Or maybe
From Tasmania. Hateful anti-transgender stickers found in Hobart.
Tasmania, that's in Australia.
The sticker is shaped like a penis with balls, and it says women don't have penises.
It's kind of true. They don't.
Anti-transgender stickers have been found in Hobart amidst the state's ongoing debate over legal reforms for trans people. The stickers, which are shaped like penises, bear the words, "Women don't have penises." Okay. This was back in the day. I was walking the mall with my buddies, and there was this overpass over the main highway that we walk over. And, just one day out of the blue, I don't know what the fuck possessed me to do it. I'm insane, so your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
But all I did was I stood up on top of the damn thing and on top of the side rail, well, the barrier thing wall, the concrete barrier wall that was on the outside of it.
Yeah.
And I opened my pants and said, "I have discovered myself," at the top of my lungs, echoing everyone, just pissed off the side in the middle of the highway. I wasn't even aiming. I was not even aware of what the fuck vehicles were under me, if any. I just did it to do it, apparently.
That's a rock and roll moment right there.
But right underneath, at that point in time, a convertible with its hood, with its top off,
Yeah.
was passing under as I was pissing. And we heard the screeching tires and the guy turning up, and it's like, oh shit! I pull up my pants. Me and my buddies ran into the graveyard and nearby, and the guy was chasing us through it. And like, we found good places to hide. And after we figured he went away, we found this one uh, memorial, that had what you could actually walk into it, and it had benches. And
Yeah.
I forget the dude's name. I think Stern knows the name, but because we went there many times after. But it had benches in it, and we just sat there and smoked pot.
Yeah.
Then we went to the mall. Oh,
Yeah. I think if you had done that to me, yeah, death would have followed.
yeah, the guy probably wanted to kill us. I mean, we pissed on him in a convertible.
Yes. So let's see. That's a rock and roll moment right there.
Yeah.
That is just one of those moments you. It's one of those moments you
I
look
have
back.
discovered myself. Oh shit.
I'll kill you.
Oh man.
Yes, you get chased by people a lot, apparently.
Back in the day, yeah. Oh god. I mean, hell, even when I was younger, like, this was even after I'd been hit by a car for the first time. I have to make that clear. It was the first time. There were more. But I was just a kid, 7, 8 years old, and I was playing with one of the neighbors I knew from school and some of his friends. And it was like, just barely dark, right after, the nudge of dusk.
Yeah.
And what would happen was we were waiting on this one side street behind these bushes. And anytime a car would come up, we'd run out in the middle of the street screaming, dumb, stupid looking car, and just fucking run down the street. Like, the car would screech, honk, scream. And then one guy fucking chased us through 3 yards and actually found us hiding on top of a house we got on top of. And gave us this huge lecture about how dangerous this was and how we were risking the drivers' lives, not just our own. Because it's obvious we don't care about our own, but the drivers' lives, you got to care about them. And some of these people
Would have
have
been like, just fuck,
families.
kill us. Stop giving us a lecture and kill us already.
And like, as soon as he left, we went back behind our bushes and did it to another car. After we were all sorrowful, saying, we're sorry, boo-hoo. Okay, let's get this next guy.
See, I don't believe anyone when they say this stuff. I was like, no, you're not, but you're gonna be.
You're gonna be. Bring out the chainsaw of truth.
Oh God, no!
It's truth, justice, and the American way. My leg.
I miss the shovel of truth from Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good friend of ours.
Wong.
He killed a lot. He killed a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the
It's time to
shovel of
break out the shovel of truth.
boom! And then we had a hammer, and we loved hammers in Fallout 3. I don't know. I think I have just a love for blunt force trauma.
Who doesn't? God.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fulfilling because, a gun's just like, yeah, you get the recoil from the gun, but you're not really getting the impact of what you're doing to someone.
Scott
With a
was always
blunt
talking about
force, I mean, even stabbing someone, you're not getting that because it's just going through. With blunt force trauma objects, it's akin to like kind of punching them because you get the full feel of what impact you're putting into it.
Scott was always
And
talking
your
about
lead pipe just goes whap, and you feel things cave, and it's like, wow.
Scott was always talking about guns, and I was just like, yeah, they're cool, but I don't know. As much as I love the mini nukes, and the mini nukes were fun, especially with collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Oh,
collateral.
I love that with Ulysses. Let's use the mini nuke. Okay. At point blank fucking range. We had,
fighting
I think we had 3 hit points, and we were irradiated. So we just started eating
like
her right
like a
away, and eating everything, and healing up everything as fast as we could, because it was like, I'm near death, and like everything was broken. Every bone that could possibly be broken was broken.
I just love the concept. Fight me like a man. Okay.
That takes some balls, launching a mini nuke at point blank range, you know? That's a
Um,
man's man. Not necessarily a smart one, but a man's man
I
nonetheless.
hated Ulysses. Like you thought it was funny. I thought it was funny later, but I had a headache because if you remember, I was on that over-the-ear headphones with the microphone,
Hmm.
and those things were horrible. And they were just conducive to headaches for some reason. Like after like an hour, it'd be like agony. Anyway, in 8 hour
Yeah, I
shows.
kept telling you, I laughed at a lot of the shit he said, because it just reminded me of back in the day when I first started,
Yeah.
getting a little bit into nihilism. And I was like, I am the destroyer of worlds. I am the knower of everything. 'Cause keep in mind, this is before I actually had it kicked in my head that I wasn't the smartest creature on the planet, you know?
Apparently, Ulysses was something of an author tract for the guy who wrote him.
Mm.
It was supposed to be how he felt about the wastes and all that. And I just thought he was boring. But of course, now I look at it and I can laugh at it a lot more because,
Yeah, it's like that teenage nihilist, the one that just went from the emo phase, oh, boo-hoo, nothing has any meaning, to the fucking, you know, I'm gonna eat you kind of phase before they finally get to the, you know what, there's nothing holding me back from being an asshole, but that also means there's nothing holding me back from being honorable or kind or any of that shit. So it really doesn't matter. I'll just choose whatever path I feel like.
well, now he's dead. So was every other companion except for Raoul
Raoul and Eddie and the dog.
and the grandma.
And
They,
grandma lived. Yeah, grandma
but
got a dog out of the deal, and we got Eddie to follow us around along with
uh,
Raoul.
yep, they were the first. I still have that picture of us. Arcade was sold into slavery. Arcade's still alive.
After we eliminated everyone at Caesar's fort, we left Arcade as the sole survivor. He could have left at any point in time, but he decided to stay in slavery after we sold him.
Yes, and he hates us.
Well, he was dead. He was just one of the many bodies left along the long march afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
He hated us so much he'd rather stay a slave as part of Caesar's legion who hated us.
I mean, if there were any cool ones, but uh, Arcade was just so pretentious. He,
Hmm.
he Veronica was okay. I didn't really have a problem with Veronica, but I thought eating her would be kind of funny, so we did that.
Yeah, well, we didn't eat her. We left her to
Oh,
be
fed
eaten by
her.
others, but we were trying to see the whole logic of that whole thing was we wanted to save her from the Brotherhood of Steel hunting her down. Because after we did our side quest, we knew that the Brotherhood of Steel was going to hunt her down from that point on, and it was going to be sad for her. So we had to protect her. And the best place to protect someone is inside your stomach, but we couldn't eat her. So we let uh, what's it called? The,
Uh,
the
people, the dudes.
yeah, the one casino that was full of cannibals eat her as our
But
main course. The fucking yuppie pretentious dudes.
it took
But
probably like some.
at first we wanted to let them live because we're like, oh wow, they're cannibals too. But as soon as they ate her, we're pissed off because we had to protect her. But now they ate our friend that we actually liked, so we had to kill and eat them.
I remember Gina thinking I wasn't going to like her because she was so sort of upbeat, but yeah, she just didn't annoy me as much as others.
Hmm.
Um, by the way, this takes some explaining people. Our character had an intelligence of one.
Yeah. He
He
wouldn't
was
even let me put in he wouldn't even let me, whenever we did Old World Blues, he wouldn't even let me put in our normal brain again because that would raise our stat. No, it was because he wanted to make certain we were truly brainless.
actually well, no, the well that was part of it, but also I wanted to be a full cyborg.
Yeah, spineless, heartless, brainless.
I thought, and with a shitload of implants.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, like, because I was like, well, okay, yeah, game mechanics or whatever, but game. But then I was like, but wait, we could just get that one hit point back. Who cares?
Yeah, and I still love all the inappropriate uses we had for the Doomsday laser from that lucky old sun.
Oh God, I will never.
Orbital lay. It's like you're the doctor that wouldn't put out for us. Boom.
Was the Flowers Doctor or Followers Apocalypse
Mhm.
Doctor? I don't remember her
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
And like I
So,
remember, oh, there was even that one mission where it's like we're in this shootout to save these people's lives. Boom. Ah. And then they came up to us and thanked us just before they got irradiated to hell and died.
but my favorite was the assassination of President Kimball.
Oh yeah, we
I
used the
like to
stealth
picture.
boy.
I like to picture. Um, who does the voice of Vadar Orlok from Metalocalypse? The fucking he's the president in Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3. British guy. What's his name?
Oh, I forget.
Malcolm something?
Malcolm McDowell.
Okay, yeah,
Oh
him.
yeah, Malcolm McDowell. Yeah.
I
I
now,
was thinking New Vegas whenever you said 3, and it's like, oh, okay, now I know who you mean.
okay, I meant 3. But
Yeah.
now we bring you the president's address. Blah 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 sacrifices. Ladies and then he comes back. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't even describe what has happened. The president has been vaporized by a doomsday laser, and nobody seems to be at fault.
And now pieces of his body are being ripped from it and lifting up into space, then disappearing as if he's being consumed by some unnatural force.
Ladies and gentlemen, this could well be the end of the world. I love picturing the newscast after we do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just as you see something about the clowns from Grand, you had a clown cheat code. Just imagining the newscast.
Oh, that was great. Well, what it was the Game Shark code. If you hit the R3 button, it would spawn 4 clowns that were set on being friendly to you. Their AI was set to being friendly to you, but violently aggressive to anything else. So I just sat there in the middle of a busy street, press R3 a few times to get about a half, dozen or so clowns running up the street, just carjacking people, killing cops, just fucking random chaos and violence. I'm just standing there like, I don't even have to do anything, and I get to enjoy it. It's like whenever in Gremlins 2, it's like, we got to worry about the street violence, but I guess we can watch that for free.
Oh, if only we were. I still want to play Sims with you.
Mm. Oh God, I had on the original Sims, I set up my neighborhood. Now, on the PS2 model, at least, that wouldn't let you set up a family of nothing but children. The first member always had to be an adult. So what I did was I made the family with one adult and all children, the other 5 children. Then I killed the adult. And the adult, I dressed like the biggest fucking pervert ever. So this was the pedophile's corpse. Okay. And, that would be his ghost running around the lot, which the lot was set up to be, a children's paradise. All the games, all the toys, all the everything. Then I took the family out. And since now the lead member was now a child, it didn't register that I needed a lead member. So that's how I got a household of 6 children.
God.
And then I moved them back in the house. And it was a bitch because children couldn't cook at all. Not even microwave. Which you figure a child would do, but So, but they could order pizza. And the house was set up with one room, which had a side door that had all the fucking expensive ass art items just congealed there. This way, whenever bill time came, they said, okay, well, we got a fucking collector. We're just going to repo some of your shit. They go in through this door and zap an expensive art item in a room I wasn't using for anything other than storing these art items. And that's how I paid my rent because children couldn't pay bills.
Yes. Well,
But
it's a functioning home, sort of. Not really.
how they got food was they could order pizza. So,
That's the
and
thing.
and the thing was that it was all a doomsday timer pretty much because it took so much pizza to fill up your hunger meter to the point where like you could actually perform okay enough to not fail out of school, that like you had to take turns as to who would stay home from school that day in order to be the person who ordered all the pizza.
Okay, so that's the thing about The Sims. Is I remember someone saying, "Why do I want to play this? Why do I want to play something that's simulating my life, a life?" I was like, "Well, because you don't have to play it straightforward. I People have an alarming lack of imagination when it comes to things like this."
Well, not another one where I had created two zombies that were a mother and a child zombie, and I had an elderly couple. And I set up the house. The house was the standard house that came with the lot. Then I set up a secondary, smaller house that was completely bricked off from everything else, and I sold the door. And the elderly couple lived in there, and mother and child with the zombie thing. I just said that they were irradiated to hell because that's what the pallet was, and they were in the Newcomb family. So they were the survivors of whatever accident happened in ages past to this neighborhood, which left the church abandoned and everything.
Good.
So, and the funny story was, I was showing this off to one of my ex girlfriends, back when I was dating her, and I let Free Will on, and Free Will and the elderly couple that was trapped in the room together, they went into the bedroom, had sex, okay, and immediately after sex, the man went up, slapped the woman, and then after he was done slapping her after sex, she cried a little bit, then went off into the kitchen and served dinner for him.
I think
So I was
that's
like,
how
make me a sandwich, bitch. Yes, I'll make you a sandwich.
I think that's how most relationships were back in like the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, that was great.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that was. Oh God.
I also had the Bum family living in an upscale park that
Ooh.
had a swimming pool and like all the amenities to, for kids to have fun. But,
Yes.
it was just like four adults sleeping on benches in the park going around, and they didn't have a TV system. And at the
Okay.
time, payphones were still a thing. So it made sense to have, just an entire wall that had nothing but phones on it. So that was like my payphones.
But see that's the thing. People, I don't know. People don't have an imagine. Like people are like, well, why am I playing this game if I'm simulating my life if I can just go out and live my life? I'm like, well, then don't simulate your life. Go insane. Do do this.
Hmm.
You know.
Then in the abandoned cross-shaped church, I had people squatting in there, sleeping in the pews.
Nice.
And this thing, I purposefully cheated the game to zero out all their personalities. So they were complete assholes. And it was just one of those things where I would sit there and let free will run their entire lives. Now, this is a group of, four assholes sleeping in a church with no fun whatsoever, and they hated each other. And it was like they'd sit there and play with a child's doll house for fun, laughing maniacally like they just snapped and went insane because they're squatting in a church, working their dead end go nowhere jobs, and I put a radio fenced off, but it was an outdoor fence, so it would blast throughout everything outside. So if any of them were dead tired from work, they couldn't just pass out in the yard. They had to actually go inside the church with everyone else
You basically
and
could,
at
so you
least
made,
interact for 5 seconds. And none of them had any cooking skill. And the only thing I had them to cook with was a grill, and there weren't many fires.
so you basically did this, and then rather than playing it, you just basically sat and watched a movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they also had no toilet. They had a bathtub, which nobody cleaned,
Oh, that reminds me of a story.
but no
Um,
toilet. So, like, they would always piss and shit themselves wherever the hell they were. And they were too damn lazy to clean up after themselves. So, they'd go in, take a shower after they shit themselves,
yeah,
take a bath in the holy water. That was the main role play there. That's where we kept the holy water. But
that
after the bathtub got too dirty for them to use it anymore, they just stopped taking baths. And
that
the
reminds me of
personalities just really degenerated from there.
where this punk squat, well, not squat, but house that had a bunch of people living in. The toilet was either broken or just completely like too dirty to use. So they used the bathtub as a toilet, and you could always tell who had hepatitis because their poo turned blue. Those are things you don't get in any other world except the world of drunk.
Slime.
Yes,
Pure gutter slime.
yeah.
Proud of it. This is information you can only get if you're either a 100% medical professional or
Or if you know
complete
people who
gutter
are,
slime that
yes,
just hung out with the fucking dear God. Who else would be here?
this is information that you just don't get anywhere else.
Well, back to The Sims, the whole thing watching that was the fact that whenever someone lost 3 fights, they'd get all upset, pack their bags, and walk off the screen, and were just removed from the game. It's like, I'm leaving here and I'm not coming back.
Yes.
So it was like the last surviving member out of that 4. They then got to go into the paradise of the fenced in area, which had a toilet. But then they were fenced off inside there, so they didn't have access to anything other than food and the toilet. They couldn't bathe. And they eventually, and because it was outside, that's where the radio was playing, they could never sleep. So they would die of insomnia.
Didn't know you could die of insomnia.
It's like, yay, you finally got that toilet you always wanted. Too bad you can never sleep again.
Oh, you could never sleep again.
Not
Yes,
until the sweet sleep of death.
my sister had a couple of them, but like I said, she played it so straight. You know,
The get a life mode on the original Sims, that was fucking hilarious because the first scenario was begging money off a mom. So you had to get enough money to move out. So the first thing I did was sell all of her property. And that gave me the money to get out. Then the next one, you were supposed to fix up this fucking shitty house. So the first thing I did was hire a maid and repairman, and they cleaned up and fixed everything for me. And all I had to do was like buy a couple items, and that was it.
yay! For you,
The
manual
third
labor.
room was like you got to be roommates with your landlord's son, Mr. Landgrab, or daughter, depending if you were male or female.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was sitting there with my one buddy, and he's like, I'm fucking sick and tired of this guy doing absolutely nothing. So we put a stereo in every room, and even outside, except for our bedroom. And anytime we had to go to bed, we would buy a door, put it there, get into the room, sell the door, then go to bed. So that way we could sleep. And Dudley would have to put up with the torture. And this is the first time and how we figured out that, yes, you could die from insomnia, sleep deprivation on the game. Because he's the one who did it. He was like, fuck you. You're not sleeping. Every time he tried to turn off the TV, it's like, nope, it's going back on.
Well, and also plus we were kids, and I don't know, we thought, well, we should play the game straightforward, but I was like, why are we buying it? We should just go completely insane. But
Well, what was great was like the car came to take Dudley to work, and he passed out in the middle of the street before it took him to work, and then the radio woke him up, and he got in the car and went to work, and you saw his face while it was working. It was like all distressed looking and everything. And then the moment he got home from work, he
yeah,
hit the ground on the sidewalk right outside the car, and then the Grim Reaper started walking over to him. It
yeah.
was done. He was not coming back. And
So
we failed the scenario. We also found out that killing an NPC during the Get a Life mode kind of like ruined everything. And then the next one, you're supposed to go with your new roommate who was actually trainable, okay, and would do more and wasn't a complete lazy slob.
yes,
Okay, and the whole point there was to start calling up the bachelors or bachelorettes and get yourself married. So the first thing I did was obviously because my roommate was the opposite gender, I romanced them, fucked them, and then we had a kid. And after having the kid with them, I ended up proposing to another person and moving out with my new spouse.
that's if that was real life, I'd call you despicable.
That is despicable.
It's like the most asshole thing to do.
And the funny thing was that out of all the people that you know, because you get to keep the phone numbers of everyone you bumped into on your way,
Yes.
all the people I got to know throughout that journey, that person's name was the only one deleted from my list of people I could call.
I'm not
I
talking to
was
you.
not allowed to talk to the mother of my child. Or
That is
father. I forget it was mother or father. I forget if I was doing male or female that time, but it was fucking horrid.
that is
Actually,
most
no, it was the father of my child and our child. That
that
was
is like
taken away from me just because.
the most despicable thing ever. That is fantastic. That is complete ass.
Yes. Well, it was the mission objective to get married to someone other than that person, but they had my kid. And now you get to keep the brat, you little fucker. I'm moving out with this person who's a lot hotter than you. Fuck you. What?
This person now wants nothing to do with you.
And now I don't even get to see my first kid, but that's okay. I'm having two more, which was the next mission objective. You have two kids and you raise them and keep them in school. And there was also some things about progressing along career tracks, blah da da. That part was kind of boring, but the last part of it, because I done so well raising my kids and getting everything else going in the last place, that all it said was that we got to move into our landlord's old mansion. And the whole thing was we had to save up cash in order to set up our own early retirement and have the kids have straight A's, which they already had straight A's. So that way they get accepted into private school. Okay, so after their first day of school, they went off. And how I got the money was I sold off everything in the mansion, one item at a time. I sold the rug, the furniture, everything sold. Then I went and sold the wallpaper and then the brick on the outside. Then I sold the walls themselves. I sold the floor.
Well, that works.
And all I had to do was keep a phone around so I could throw my fucking party. And it was the greatest in the land. So I left just enough decor and fun things to do. Not and it was pretty much like the same size as a shithole apartment.
Yes.
This mansion turned into like this small box that had a shitter and shower on the outside.
So yes, I wish we could have, because that would have been funny as fuck to watch. But maybe when you get your new shit.
Yeah, well, if I ever do, well, it's gonna be coming. I just got to save up a lot for it because I couldn't get financed.
Yeah. Well,
That's fine. I'm used to not getting financed. I thought because I got a bigger loan than usual that I thought I could get for my car. Figure maybe I could do the same thing with a computer. It didn't work out that way. I was
well,
like, whatever, whatever happens, I'll
yeah.
figure out something because I need a better system to play games and actually multitask so I could have you along for the ride so you could hear all the horrible things I'm doing.
Yes, that would be funny. I would enjoy that because I really enjoyed doing New Vegas and all those others and Magical fucking Tire.
Oh God, that was great.
That was literally I had to listen to Flower Metal to man up after the lesbian kiss scene.
Hmm.
I don't know why
Which
we
we
made
worked the entire game for to get one lesbian kiss.
I didn't like any of the guys, so I was like, fuck it, she's gonna be a lesbian. I didn't think any of the guys were cool, so I don't know why. But whenever I play a female character, they become lesbians.
Well, that's because you dig chicks,
Well, yeah.
and chick
Yeah.
on chick action is hot.
Well, yeah. I couldn't really. I don't know. Guys are horrible. Fuck them. Murder all men except for me, and then murder me,
Mm,
and then murder everyone else. Speech aside, oh my god, I smell food. Don't you hate it when you can smell food and your stomach is just like, wow, that that is torture right there. That is torture. So yeah, speech aside, um, I apparently tried this new energy drink, and I have no idea what it's called, but it is fucking fantastic. If you couldn't tell, I was wired up as hell the first half of the show because that thing just has a lot of caffeine.
mm,
Um. So yeah. I really enjoyed playing because I'm not really a game person because I can't really other than text adventures, my beloved text adventures as Jim knows very well.
yeah,
How many times have I sent you shit from like, oh, now his body's disintegrating?
yeah, I know.
Um, so, but video games, I mean, I like that they're fine, but I've never really played them because blind. And I don't really like railroad things. I like open worlds. Like, look at D&D. Look at how much we messed up in D&D. Valorous was supposed to be the good guy,
Hey, that's fine by me.
and then it became chaotic evil. Well, more lawful evil if you think about it, because he does have a plan. It's a see that's one thing that
Who?
who said it that I do have a plan. It's a very nihilistic plan, but it is a plan
Oh, who's lawful evil? You said.
that I'm more well not law maybe I guess neutral evil than lawful than
I
chaotic.
think you're lawful evil.
Yeah, because I do actually have a plan. It is
It's not just
incredibly
that, but you have a very strong set of ethics you go by, and you're actually very, very strict with it. Whereas me, yeah, I have my own morals and stuff, but dear fuck, anything outside of that, you see how off the rails I get.
well.
It's like we'll start talking, and then like the conversation morphs into six different things quickly. Before I remember, oh yeah, I had a point with the first point I made, and you're like, wait, where's Jim going now?
Yeah, I'm
It's part of why you think I have ADD.
well, which you do. If you think Jim has ADD, comment.
Yay.
Um, well, no, the whole thing for me is, yeah, they might be very nihilistic ethics, but yes, I do actually have some sort of weird ethics and principles that I do enjoy sticking to. Which is basically destroy good. My ethics are destroy love and beauty in the world.
I remember whenever I was telling you about the classes and the first spell you wanted to memorize whenever you multi-classed Valorous and the cleric was protection from good.
Yes, I remember one of your family members loved that one.
Hmm.
She was like, "Oh, so anything good?" He just
Yeah, anything good, just fuck it. I'm protected from it. Only bad things are gonna happen from here on out.
it.
It's like Richard from Looking for a Group. Rejoice, for very bad things are about to happen.
But yeah, so yeah, I would say, as much as I love chaos, yeah, I guess I would say I do have ethics and things, which I don't know if I'm that strict, but I do like to sort of follow them, and I have goals and means to an end and things like that.
I always never got this. I wish my parents aborted me. I didn't consent to being born. Then why not suicide?
See,
Just,
that was
just,
it.
just actually don't do the attention-seeking one. Actually complete it. Why
See
are you
that.
complaining about it if you're not going to complete it?
See, that's a joke that I make on like Mother and Father's Day. It's like, well, screw that. I didn't consent to being born, but I did sort of jokingly.
Yeah, but this is like not a joke. This is people being
Yeah, I
legit.
don't say that.
And
Well, you can abort yourself. Not that I'm condoning it, obviously, because I don't want to get sued.
yeah,
We're not condoning anything here. We're just, self-abortion is possible.
yes, post-emptive self-abortion.
Not that I'm condoning self-abortion. I'm merely
Dear
pointing.
God, with being dead right now be so boring. I'd just be lying there rotting.
Being dead would be boring. Why would I want to be dead when I have so many new albums to listen to? Possessed is coming out the new album since 1980, first new album since 1987. I don't want to be dead till I hear it. And, Overkill is coming out the new album later this year.
Yeah,
That's gonna be awesome. Well,
things to look forward to.
things to look forward to. I agree. However, once I watch Lords of Chaos, I'll probably wish I was dead.
Uh,
At least the guy admits that the book got a lot wrong, but I just think that he romanticized. Not that the black metal, story isn't a great story, but I just think he romanticizes it a little bit, downplays some characters. I don't know. I just think it's wrong. I mean, Fenrir said it was the worst thing since unsliced bread to make this film.
mm,
So it's it just seems, and they all speak with American accents, which a lot of people speak English in Norway. English is a very spoken language. Why didn't you get people with Scandinavian accents? I mean, at least okay, they spoke, um, say that they spoke English around them. So whatever. Just I. When I picture Euronymous, I don't picture him sounding like me. Bard does not sound like Jim. If he did, that would be awesome. And here's what I think of D&D. And
this is when we shit on the universe because shitting on the universe is fun.
after my favorite Vikernes thing is still saying completely nonchalantly, so after I killed Euronymous,
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, I was like, I didn't really expect tears or anything, but I didn't expect anything so nonchalant.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll review it. I'll get Jim to watch it somehow. I don't know how, but I'll get him to watch it, and we'll review it, and it'll be horrible. And looking for more interviews.
Yes, we shall be doing shit.
I like interviews, especially with bands I actually know. Ryan from Intestinal Disgorge has written a book about living with OCD. Like,
Yay. Living with death.
uh,
Hello.
we've been. I really need to go eat something.
Oh, I gotta shit soon, so
All
I
right,
guess we could kill it here.
all right. It's been fun. I just
We may do something a little bit tomorrow. I don't know.
all right. I'll be
Or
here.
tonight or whatever. I don't care.
Yep. It's been fun. We'll see you later, guys.
All right, later.